There are over 1,000 cards in One Piece card game. Across almost a dozen sets, over 20 starter decks, 2 extra boosters, and more cards releasing constantly, we have 1,000 cards to choose from, and only 50 cards allowed in the deck. There are so many great cards in One Piece TCG. Some are so good we call them staple cards, because they hold the deck together and are required to make a deck competitive. Cards like Gecko Moria and Ices were so strong and so prevalent, they ended up being in every black color deck. But also so prevalent that they also ended up on the ban list. Then there's the other side of that list, the cards that rarely get any playtime. The many commons and uncommons that sit in the bulk box, waiting for their chance to get just the right kind of support. But let's take a look at some of the weirdest and unique cards in the game, ranging from the rarely used effects, interesting responses, or just little facts about the cards as a whole. During Set 1, One Piece card game was still setting up its own rules for cards and card arts. It's established that vanilla cards are the baseline characters. These cards have no ability, 1k counter, and their cost and power are consistent across color. For example, 3 cost vanillas are 5,000 power, 4 cost is 6,000, 5 cost is 7,000, and so on. Each set still gets new vanilla cards to add support to certain types, and they're always great neutral options for any deck. Set 1 still has these of course, but there's an interesting visual difference. Only in Set 1 and the original 5 starter decks, we have these vanilla cards with full art, but also these cards with just a blank text box. There's no pattern I can pick out. Common and uncommon vanilla cards alike can either have a full art or empty text box. It's a funny thing to notice and only appears in this set. Nowadays, all vanilla cards are full art, but it does make Set 1 cards stand out. They don't interact differently or are really rare or anything, just a fun little detail that old school players might recognize. Have you ever noticed the symbol on your cards? This one, next to your character's power. That's called an attribute. It's on every card, but very rarely does it ever come into play. There's 5 attribute symbols: slash, range, strike, special, and wisdom. And every character card has at least one. But only 16 cards in the game actually utilize these attributes. These cards specifically call out specific attribute types in their effects. They pop up randomly every few sets. Set 1 only had 2 cards that used these, a few promo cards here and there. Set 4, 6, and 8 only had 1 each. And then interestingly, we got 3 in Series 11. So maybe Bandai is looking to add more of these kinds of cards in the future. Many of the cards that react to attributes are immune to certain types. So for example, these 2 buggy cards cannot be KO'd by a character that has a slash attribute, for the lore. Or these Luffy cards, they cannot be KO'd by a character with a strike attribute. Some other characters like these 2 Zephyrs get a bonus to their attack if attacking a character of a specific type of attribute. We see these cards reacting to strike, slash, and special attributes, but interestingly, range and wisdom are currently the only attributes that are not utilized in any other card effect. So that gives another point to Vegapunk and Usopp. There are even dual attribute cards, and there's even less of these. There are very few cards that actually have the dual attribute type, but surprisingly, we've been getting a lot more of these as well. These are pretty unique cards in general, as they're usually dual character cards like Kaido and Linlin from Set 8 and the Zoro and Sanji leader. With attributes coming into play so rarely in the game, most of the time players don't really have to worry about them. But there was a time one in particular was so prevalent. In OPO3, Buggy. This card was heavily used in OPO3 and OPO4 meta in Red Zoro decks. It's a great searcher, and a 1-cost 3000 power card makes it a great target to swing early with Zoro. Zoro himself is a slash type leader too, so don't forget about this Buggy effect when playing in the mirror match. When playing cards in most card games, you usually play them to give you an advantage or to put your opponent at a disadvantage. Of course, like in most TCGs, there are some cards that are just generally better than others. But what about a card that actively hurts you to play it? Kanjuro from Set 1 is debatably the worst card in the game. Kanjuro is a 2-cost 3000 power card with a pretty underwhelming effect. Give Kanjuro 1 Dawn, and when attacking, KO one of your opponent's arrested characters with a cost of 2 or less. Being a 2-cost 3000 power stat line can be a little awkward, requiring 2 Dawn to swing into most leaders at 5000 power. But the when attacking effect is incredibly underwhelming. Not only does it require an opponent to be at 2 cost or less, but also rested, so unfortunately this won't get past the blocker that's standing in your way. This isn't Kanjuro's only effect though. He has a second effect. On KO, your opponent chooses one card from your hand and trashes it. So not only are you losing your character on the board, but also losing card advantage from your hand. This does fit the lore of the character. Conjurer was a traitor who was working for the antagonist during the Wano arc, pretending to help the Straw Hats and friends until betraying them at one of the most crucial moments in the story. The idea of a card being on brand for the character is a lot of fun for the card game, but it's unlikely we'll see this card in many tournament winning decks. What's the most damage you can do in a single attack? Say your character is on the board, a turn has passed and can now swing. Stacking all 10 Dawn onto the strongest base attacker in the game, Gold D Roger at 10 cost 13,000 attack, will allow for an attack dealing 23,000. Using events, we can get a little bit more creative. If you use 3 Gum Gum King Kong guns in a turn on the highest attacking Dressrosa card like Kairos or Hadrudon at 7 cost 9,000 power, you can end up with a 27,000 power attack plus 1,000 more with the last Dawn. But there's a card that can do way more damage than these attacks combined, for only 8 Dawn. Burndy World. For 8 Dawn, it's an 8,000 power attacker. However, activate main and return 8 Dawn from the field to the Dawn deck. Burndy World gains 792,000 power, allowing for an attack of a whopping 800,000. So why isn't this card used more since no one could dare counter out of it? Well, it's just too slow unfortunately. It needs to survive a turn in a game where there are many ways to remove bodies from the board using effects. And swinging big isn't enough to win games on its own. An opponent must just take the hit if they still have life left, or use a blocker to defend. After going -8 Dawn in one turn, as well for the player playing Burndy World, it'll be tough to play with way less Dawn in the late game if your opponent survives. So we know what card we need to use, so what scenario would allow us for the highest swing attack? The highest example I can find is from Reddit user KIA Squirrel from a post asking what the max attack could theoretically be. To get this, you need to be a red-purple leader, be at least 2 life, 10 Dawn, and your board be Burndy World, 3 5-cost Kid blockers, Black Maria, and your opponent would need a character with a power of 7,000 or more, and the most perfect hand to pull this off. First, activate the event Gum Gum King Kong Gatling 4 times for 8 Dawn on Burndy World, which puts you from 8,000 to 24,000. With your last 2 active Dawn, activate Meteor Strike of Love, losing 1 life and gaining plus 3,000. Activate Burndy World's effect, Dawn -8, getting 3 active Dawn back with the kids, and go from 27,000 to 819,000 power. With 2 of your active Dawn, activate another Meteor Strike of Love, losing your last life and gaining plus 3,000 power again, putting you at 822,000. Attach the last active Dawn to Burndy World. From here, you activate Black Maria's effect, get back 5 rested Dawn, and then activate your effect for Burndy World again for a second time. This combo, when fully completed, will allow for the highest attack you can reach in One Piece with a whopping 1,615,000 power attack. Let's see how many Gum Gum Giants you need to counter out of that. Alternative win conditions in card games can be a lot of fun, in casual settings. Many of them aren't often viable strategies, or are really difficult to pull off, but when they happen in a competitive match, the hype is unreal. The Pokemon trading card game has a few cards that offer you to win the game differently. One such example is called Unknown Hand from the Lost Thunder set. If Unknown is in your active spot and you have 35 or more cards in your hand, you can use this ability. If you do, you win the game. Having 35 cards in hand is an absurd amount of cards in any card game, but with the right combination of cards, not only was this possible, but it even had to be banned in the expanded format. Unknown, when paired with cards like Clay to draw cards, or using stall Pokemon like Hoopa who can prevent damage from a certain attack, this win condition can become pretty consistent. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has one of the most famous alternate win conditions, Exodia. If you have all 5 pieces of Exodia in your hand, you automatically win the game. The main character in the show even won a match using the Exodia cards. As of set 11, One Piece has 2 alternate win conditions. First off is Nami, a blue leader from set 3. Nami is always an interesting deck to see and play, and always has the potential to take games from any player. If Nami is able to reduce their deck to 0 cards, they automatically win the game, when normally decking out is an automatic loss. This makes Nami decks incredibly unique as they are playing many character cards that draw cards and then rarely swinging into their opponent and holding lots of Dawn open to use counter cards that also have a draw card effect. When Set 3 first released in Japan, this deck was so strong that it had a card banned before the set was even released in North America. Kabaji is a card that if Moji is on the field, you are able to draw 2, trash 1 from hand. Other cards in the deck also draw 2 pretty easily like Sanji's Pilaf and Kaya, but for such a low 2 cost card, and gaining an extra card advantage is extremely powerful, and the card is still banned to this day. Goldie Roger from Set 9 also has a new win condition. Roger is a 10 cost, 13,000 power attacker, which is the highest base attack from any character, and has Rush. If your opponent activates a blocker and you or your opponent has 0 life, you automatically win the game. This card can actually be quite a threat and can turn some games completely around by forcing wall decks to play around the idea of using only counter cards to survive. Even if the player isn't going for game just yet, a 13,000 power rush attacker can gain quite a lot of value on its own. This card has made a place for itself as it's often seen as a 1-of or 2-of in the decks like Shanks as a situational card. One Piece only has 2 alternate win condition cards, but it would be interesting to see if they add any more. What other kind of alternate win conditions do you think they could add? It's no surprise that Monkey D. Luffy gets new cards every set. He has gotten several leaders, many of which held prominent placings in the meta. Cards from low cost to high cost, multiple promo cards, and even the very first serial cards from regional winners was a serial Luffy. There are currently 43 unique Luffy cards. And then there are the event cards that may not be Luffy in particular, but are Luffy attacks like Gum Gun Red Rock or Gum Gum Giant. A tournament legal Luffy only deck is definitely possible to make with any red color Luffy, using Luffy cards and Luffy event cards. But surprisingly, there is another character that is also able to have a deck of just themselves. Chopper. While Chopper doesn't have as many cards as Luffy does, many of Chopper's cards are red or green, which just so happens to be the dual color of the Chopper leader. Using the many red and green Tony Chopper cards, plus events like Guard Point and Cloven Rose, a full Chopper deck is also possible and tournament legal. Maybe give it a try next time you're looking for an off-meta deck, but maybe don't have too high hopes for results. One Piece card game is a complex game. There's a large variety of strategies, and I think that's part of what makes this game so great. Seeing all these nuances with the cards, effects, or even just noticing small differences is fun, and makes part of this game so special. Are there any other unique cards, effects, or neat little facts that you've noticed? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to see more content like this one, check out these other videos. Thanks for watching.